Welcome to Brawlers Hub. Hi, I'm Gil. In the previous video, we saw how to import sprites and set up animations. Today, we'll learn about the events system, a powerful tool to control all of an entity's logic. Please note that this is an early alpha version of the project, so everything you see is a work in progress and subject to change. We already have all our animations set up, so let's look at the Events tab. A quick introduction: events consist of conditions, which, when verified, trigger a set of effects. Our first task is to move the character based on player input. The condition we'll use is on input movement. As the effect, we'll change the animation to walk. The actual movement will be handled during the walk animation. In the walk animation, we'll create an event to apply motion based on input. This event doesn't need a condition because the motion will be applied continuously while the walk animation plays. The effect translates input movement into entity movement. For now, we'll set a maximum velocity and explore other parameters later. Additionally, if the player stops moving, we'll return to the idle animation. Let's test this. Okay, we see that the character isn't facing the direction we're moving. Let's fix that. If the input is in the opposite direction, we'll add an event to flip the character. This works, but there's a simpler way to achieve this. Let's delete this event. Within the same event where we apply input, we can add another effect, flip in velocity direction. This will automatically make the character face the direction they're moving. It's not quite the same as flipping based on input, as we'll see later. Now, let's look at other parameters of the apply movement effect. By controlling animation speed, we can make the animation play faster or slower depending on the movement velocity. It can even play backward. It's hard to tell with this animation, but the character is walking backward when moving in reverse. Let's configure some acceleration and bring back the auto direction effect. As you can see, acceleration causes the movement velocity to increase gradually until it reaches the maximum we configured. There's a problem though. When the player stops moving, velocity persists during the idle animation. Velocity carries over between animations, so we need to explicitly control it. In the idle animation, let's force movement to stop. Now the stop is abrupt. Instead, we want the walk animation to decelerate until the character stops completely before transitioning to idle. In the walk animation, we'll add a condition to return to idle only when movement is stalled on both the X and Z axes. Let's also increase acceleration for a better experience. You'll notice that the acceleration effect also applies in reverse, decelerating the character when there's no input. Notice that the character only flips direction when velocity changes direction. That's the auto direction effect. Let's delete it and return to flipping based on input. This creates a slightly different effect, as the character slides while trying to walk in the opposite direction. Now, let's make our entity jump. If the jump button is pressed, we'll change the animation to jump. The jump animation starts with a prepare to jump sprite, followed by the jump itself. We could have split this into separate animations, but this setup works too. There's no built-in jump mechanic, so we need to do it using events. On sprite 2 of the jump animation, we'll apply an upward impulse. When the character lands on the ground, they'll return to the idle animation. Let's test this. Oh! The character isn't jumping at all. They return to idle immediately. This happens because the character is already considered landed during the first sprite. We need to check if the character is landed only after the upward impulse is applied. Got it! Now, the character is only jumping while idle. To allow jumping while walking, we'll copy the jump event to the walk animation. In this case, we also want to jump forward in the direction of input. Oh, the character is sliding again in idle. Right, we removed the stop event for walk. We'll need a stop event in idle after all, with deceleration for a smoother effect. There's another glitch with the transition from walk to idle. This happens because velocity is 0 on the first frame of walk. To fix this, we'll delay the transition until after the initial sprite. When the character lands, they should crouch briefly before standing up. Let's add a land animation that decelerates velocity and transitions to idle when finished. On landing, the jump animation will transition to land instead of idle. Looking good. You can apply different jump strategies to your character. For example, you can give the player movement control while in the air. Let's do that. It's similar to walking but applies while airborne. Let's also add a jump kick when the attack button is pressed mid-air. The jump kick animation will use the same landing logic, so we can copy it over. No sprite number check is needed for this one. Here's a small bug when spamming jump. After landing, the character briefly transitions to idle before jumping again, causing a flicker. To fix this, we'll allow the land animation to transition directly to jump if the jump input is active. Perfect! Finally, let's add the ability to flip direction mid-air. This can be based on velocity or input direction. Each method creates a slightly different effect. As you can see, the events system gives you full control over character physics and behavior. With these tools, you can create any move imaginable, including advanced attacks, cancels, and more. If this feels overwhelming, don't worry. You'll be able to use existing characters as templates and modify only what you need. Don't forget to subscribe to get future updates. You can also support Brawlers Hub by becoming a patron. Your support plays a crucial role in keeping the project alive. A special thanks to Itsatsi, our very first patron. That's all for now. Have a fantastic day.